I love birds, I love Pokemon, and I love bird Pokemon. So I'm doing a birds only run of FireRed, cause why the heck not? If you haven't already, be sure to check out the first episode. In it I explained the challenge rules, some lore, and gave 1 or 2 predictions on how I think this will play out. You'll also find out how my teeny tiny little baby birbs, Air Force 1 the Pidgey and Wingman the Spearow, fared against Brock at the Pokémon City gym. Today, we're picking up right where we left off, so let's go. Now that I've got a shiny new badge, I don't waste any time dilly-dallying and head straight for Route 3 to begin my journey to Cerulean City. I know Misty's Starmie can be a pain, but since it's a neutral matchup, I don't think it will be too tricky, and I'm eager to just get it out of the way. As I leave Pokémon City, I meet Professor Oak's aide, who delivers the running shoes my mum sent to me. Then, one of the most tedious legs in Pokemon history begins. I love FireRed, but gosh, I loathe this part of it. It is exhausting. It's just trainer battle after trainer battle after trainer battle after trainer battle. Sheesh! For brevity's sake, and so that you aren't bored half to death in this video, I'm going to speed through all of them, only stopping to comment on the highlights. First up is Last Janice. Why is she posing like that? It's ridiculous. Look at her. It's not a very exciting battle, although Wingman survives a crit by the skin of his teeth, and levels up to 12. Bugcatcher Colton wants a rematch. I obviously have the type advantage, so it's an easy fight, but Wingman gets poisoned, and I have to administer an antidote after the battle. He also levels up to 13 and learns Fury Attack. Then, youngster Ben tells me he likes shorts because they're delightfully comfy and easy to wear. His Ekans is a little bit tricky, but it's not an emergency, and Air Force 1 levels up to 17. Next is Bugcatcher Greg. I sweep through his entire team without taking a single hit. Then, youngster Calvin yells at me for not wearing shorts. Wingman has a standoff with his far inferior Spearow, wins, and levels up to 14. After visiting the Pokémon Center, I stop at the Pokémart to stock up on some potions so I don't have to run back and forth to heal. I fight Last Sally and Wingman gets poisoned again, so I administer another antidote, then easily beat Bugcatcher James, after which Wingman levels up to 15. Last in line is Last Robin, whose Jigglypuff is a bit annoying, but nothing Wingman can't handle. If you thought that was all, you've never played FireRed or Leaf Green, have you? The slog is only just beginning. But I at least get a breather, so I talk to some civilians, one of whom acknowledges my badge and shares his dream of being a gym leader like Brock. I really wanted to add a fan theory here that he's Rourke from Sinnoh, but there simply weren't enough dots to connect. It can still be my headcanon though. Moving on, I stop at the next Pokemon Center, decline the sketchy man's offer to buy a 500 Pokédollar Magikarp, and heal my mons before the next tedious leg. Mount Moon. Naturally, almost as soon as I enter the cave, I'm hounded by a Zubat. I didn't think to buy repels, and don't feel like going all the way back to Pokémon City to get them, so I decide I just won't bother with any of the Zubat and simply run when they show up. I find the TM for Bullet Seed, and then I fight Iris, whose Clefairy sings Wingman to sleep, charms him into immobility, and double slaps the crap out of him. Wingman sweeps through Bugcatcher Kent's team and grows to level 16, and then I find a Paralyze heal and a potion. Next, super nerd Joven takes me on, and to my horror, has electric Pokemon on his team. Now, Fury Attack is a really bad move. Although it's a multi-strike attack, it's only got 15 power, and even worse, only 85% accuracy. But since Wingman's trusty peck isn't going to work very well, I give it a chance. And it immediately misses. Magnemite Thundershocks Wingman, but fortunately it does less damage than I feared. Wingman lands a Fury Attack, which does less damage than I hoped, so I switch to Air Force 1. That was a mistake. Magnemite Thundershocks her too, and almost one-shots her. So I have to bring Wingman back in. Fury Attack hits, then misses, then hits, and then Wingman goes down. so I have to bring Air Force 1 back in again. But instead of just throwing it and whiting out, I heal her up instead. She is immediately thundershocked again, but somehow survives it, and is fast enough to take Magnemite out before it gets another swipe at her. I have to use a turn healing her, but Voltorb wastes turns charging, so Air Force 1 is able to knock it out and win us the battle. This really doesn't bode well regarding the gym leader who shall not be named. Air Force 1 barely pulled through, and those were low-level mons with mediocre electric attacks. I shudder to think of what Raichu is going to do to my birbs. Anyway, after healing and reviving Wingman, I beat Bugcatcher Robbie, find a rare candy and an escape rope, and beat Lass Miriam without incident, leveling Wingman up to 17. I also fight youngster Josh, who has some pretty irritating Pokemon, but it's not too difficult. Air Force 1 handles it well enough. She also levels up to 18, and then... my teeny tiny baby burb evolves into a bigger burb. Yay! The Pokédex says Pidgeotto's claws are well developed. It can carry prey such as an execute to its nest over 60 miles away. Next, Hyco Marcos and his rock Pokemon are a little bit challenging, but in the end Air Force 1 levels up again to 19, and I find a Moonstone. I quickly leave to heal and buy some more potions, and then I explore the ladders scattered around Mount Moon. I find a star piece and a revive, and I fight a few Team Rocket grunts. The battles aren't very interesting, but Air Force 1 grows again to level 20 and tries to learn Whirlwind. But it's a stupid move, so I reject it. I sincerely hope I don't come to regret that decision later. Eventually, I make my way to Super Nerd Miguel, who fights me over the fossils he found. This time, Air Force 1 gets poisoned, but other than that, the battle is pretty dull too. I get to take a fossil, and even though I will never use it, I pick the Dome fossil. I know, Twitch Plays Pokemon worships the Helix fossil, but come on, Kabuto is a way cooler Pokemon than Omanyte. Okay, one last Zubat harasses me. I find another antidote, and finally make my way out of this god-forsaken cave. Outside, I'm offered either Mega Punch or Mega Kick, but neither of my birbs can learn either, so I'm forced to decline both. I find the TM for Roar, and at long last arrive in Cerulean City. As per usual, I explore the town and speak to the locals. I visit the bike shop knowing I can't afford one, and I say hi to the slow bro blocking the path out of town. Then this old guy accuses me of lying because I said I like berries but don't have any on me. The nerve! Oh, and I also speak to the Popo. I could take Misty on right now, but I decide, hey, let's go visit Bill instead. There are trainers along the way, and I want to level up my mons just a little bit more. So I make my way to Nugget Bridge, where the third battle slog begins, starting with H5N1. Air Force 1 takes a few knocks, but it's no biggie. Both she and Wingman grow a level to 21 and 18 respectively. I also receive the Fame Checker, which like the Teachy TV, I'm never going to use. So I move up the bridge, with Wingman quite literally sweeping through Bugcatcher Kale's team and growing to level 19. I replace Fury Attack with Pursuit, a stronger 100% accurate move. The battle against Lass Alley is super easy, though youngster Timmy almost gets me, so I have to go back and heal afterwards. I forget that Nidoran has poison points, so although Lass Relly's battle isn't difficult, Wingman gets poisoned again! But he also levels up to 20. And then... my second teeny tiny baby burb grows into a big burb. Yay! I'm like a proud parent. The Pokédex says Fiero's huge and magnificent wings can keep it aloft in the sky. It can remain flying a whole day without landing. Wingman one-shots Camper Ethan's Mankey, so I get my nugget and an offer to join Team Rocket, I fight the grunt, and find the TM for Attract. Camper Shane helps Wingman grow to level 21. Then we take on Hiker Franklin, Hiker Wayne, Youngster Joey, Picnicker Kelsey, Hiker Knob, seriously his name is Knob, Camper Flint, Youngster Chad, and Glass Haley, whose battles are all inconsequential. By the end of it, Wingman is at level 23. I also find the TM for secret power. So I finally make it to Bill. He had a whoopsie and accidentally turned himself into a Clefairy. I help him change back into a human, so he rewards me with the SS Ann ticket and tells me to enjoy a party happening on the ship in his place. But the battles aren't over yet. I head back to the house that was robbed and I find out Team Rocket stole this poor guy's TM for Dig. I head into his backyard and confront the grunt, so he forfeits the TM. But the guy doesn't want or need it anymore, so I get to keep it for myself. Now the only thing left to do is to challenge Misty. So I head to the Cerulean City gym. The gym trainer battles aren't too tricky, but they're not as effortless as I hoped they would be. First up is Luis. Air Force 1 takes down his horsey without getting hit and levels up to 22, but then his shoulder is a bit of a pain. If I weren't somewhat over-leveled, I don't think Air Force 1 would have survived this battle. Next is Picnicker Diana. I have a tiny bit of bad luck in the battle, but it's nothing to write home about. I use a potion to heal Air Force 1, and then I take Misty on. As I said earlier, I know Misty's Starmie quite well, and I'm fully aware that with the wrong Pokemon or strategy, she can be a surprisingly difficult battle. But assuming we're evenly matched and that my birbs are faster, I predict I might get caught off guard and lose the first battle, but easily adjust and get through it in 2. Especially considering I managed to beat Brock, a leader my birbs were weak against, in only 4. And I struggled through the Pewter City gym. But oh boy, was I wrong. At first, Air Force 1 is quite strong against Misty's Staryu, taking it down in 2 hits and staying in the green. But when Starmie comes out, I remember very quickly how much of a tank this thing is. Air Force 1's quick attack does very little damage, and Starmie's retaliatory water pulse knocks her straight into the red. So I swap Wingman in. Starmie's Swift doesn't hurt too much, and a critical strike pursuit is just a smidge too weak to knock it out. Starmie water pulses, and then Misty heals it right back up with a super potion. Wingman gets another crit, but again, pursuit isn't powerful enough to end it there. So Starmie recovers, all the way back to green. Wingman's next pursuit seems to do even less damage, and for a bit it's a pick, recover, pursuit, recover dance. Until Starmie shakes things up with a critical water pulse that knocks Wingman out. I try to heal Air Force 1, but Starmie's next water pulse takes her down too. It was not a great first attempt, but Misty reminded me that super potions are now available, so after whiting out, I go and buy some. Before attempting number 2, Misty says I'm a new face, as if she didn't send both of my birbs to the ER 10 seconds ago. This time the Staryu battle is much easier because it chooses to harden instead of attacking. Air Force 1 takes it out with 2 quick attacks without losing any health. She also levels up to 23. Then she gets Starmie to the yellow, but narrowly survives a water pulse, so Wingman takes over. Starmie's rapid spin is a joke against Wingman, but his pursuit doesn't crit and actually works against him, getting Starmie into the red and forcing it to recover. And after a few pecks and water pulses, I use a Leer to lower its defenses, but the thing recovers itself back to full health, so I do the same. It water pulses, Wingman becomes confused, and then he hurts himself. When another water pulse sends him far into the yellow, I switch him out for Air Force 1, who hits a little harder this time, but is so squishy, 2 water pulses knock her out. Instead of healing Wingman, I hope for a pursuit crit that doesn't come, so I white out again. I stock up on a few more super potions and go back for round 3, using the same strategy I did with Brock. Just brute force it. It's not the greatest strategy considering Starmie's Recover has 20 PP in Gen 3, but it's the only strategy I have. Staryu goes back to water pulsing, but still goes down in 2 quick attacks. This time I start Starmie's round with a Leer or 2. When Wingman falls to the red, I bring Air Force 1 back in. She gets hit by a Swift, but does significant damage with quick attack. It's not enough to knock Starmie out though. Instead of recovering, it water pulses, knocking Air Force 1 out. Air Force 1's efforts make very little difference. I know it's just going to heal up again, but like a big old dummy, instead of healing 2 and leveling the playing field, I choose to attack it. I don't know why I did that. So I waste a turn healing Wingman in the next round. Starmie hits him with a Swift, he hits back with a Pursuit, and then obviously it recovers. So Wingman hits it with another Pursuit, but this time it crits Starmie back to the yellow. Then, by some miracle, instead of recovering, the stupid starfish chooses to Water Pulse, giving Wingman an opportunity to Pursuit again. And finally, he knocks Starmie out, and levels up to 24. So, just like last time, with a little bit of luck and good timing, I beat the Cerulean Gym, with only a big burb and a medium-sized burb. Yay! Misty gives me the Cascade Badge, 2,100 Poké Dollars, and TM3 Water Pulse. I can also now use Cut outside of battle. Of course, I heal at the Pokémon Center, and then I run ahead, off to Vermilion City. But you're going to have to tune in next week to see how that goes. Sheesh, getting to Cerulean and beating Misty was a chore, and now I am all battled out. Besides, the big one's coming, and I'm going to need all the energy I can muster to tackle it. Hey you, thanks for watching my silly little video. I do appreciate it. Do you know the parable of the expert fee, or whatever it's called? It goes a little something like this. A factory's machinery inexplicably stops working, and none of the engineers hired to fix it can solve the problem. As a last resort, an old retired repairman is called in. He arrives with nothing but a small bag of tools. He briefly examines the machinery, and then hits it with a hammer. It immediately roars back into life. A few days later, the factory gets an invoice for $10,000. Shocked and disgruntled, they send the repairman an email saying, $10,000 is ludicrous. You only worked for 5 minutes, and all you did was hit the machine with a hammer. Please send an itemized invoice to justify this. The man responds, hitting the machine with a hammer, $1. Knowing where to hit the machine with the hammer, $9,999. Total, $10,000. I've been having a lot of conversations about Gen AI and how much of a problem it's created. I guess I just find it interesting and terribly sad that we've come to view art solely as output rather than a discipline that creates it. People want polished products without the elbow grease, and they want expertise without the experience. That's why AI slop is so obvious most of the time. It doesn't know where to hit, and neither do the people using it to forge talent they don't have. Because they're lazy. Too lazy to learn, too lazy to practice, too lazy to grow, and even too lazy to suck. There's a quote I really like, attributed to Franklin D. Roosevelt. A smooth sea never made a good sailor. While it's typically applied to adversity, I think it works for creativity too. But I don't know, I just felt like yapping about that. What do you think? On that note, if you're enjoying my bird playthrough so far, please do consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. It would mean a lot, and it will go a long way. But now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go mentally prepare for the horror that awaits me in Vermilion City. Have a good one, guys. See you next Sunday.